Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. I am NIN.VC, and I will be your host. Let's start with my background. I started my professional career at Merrill Lynch with their private client group. At Merrill, we manage portfolios of high net worth individuals. While it was great to trade stocks and bonds, I was always curious about how these companies went public. Thus, after business school, I joined Pacific Crest Securities. PCS is a tech-focused investment bank with a global presence focused on software, communications, semiconductors, and internet and digital media. Here are a few transactions I worked on at PCS. In 2005, IPOs were at the peak, and it was amazing to take all these companies public. But that led to another question. How do VCs know what companies to invest in and which ones to take public? Thus, I joined Alpha Capital Partners. Alpha is a generalist fund with about 135 million of assets under management. My most recent transaction at Alpha was Circon, a software as a service provider company. The recent turmoil in the market led to a change in the way business was done across all industries, and many startups sprung to life. On the other hand, venture funds that would invest in these startups were on a decline. And that's where the Jobs Act and crowdfunding stepped in to bridge this funding. The Jumpstart Our Business Startup Act, the Jobs Act, signed into law by President Obama on April 5, 2012, enables crowdfunding for all Americans. NIN Ventures is one of the first funds that is offering its membership interest pursuant to Rule 506C of Regulation D under the Securities Act of 1933. The offering is being made via general solicitation and general advertising, which is permitted by Rule 506C and contemplated by Title II of the Jobs Act. This rule came into effect September 23rd, and we were the first ones to go live with a website and videos about our fund. NIN Ventures also became the first venture fund to be seen on a billboard, which was followed by in-taxi ad and other social media and target-based internet marketing. NIN.VC has been the recipient of numerous awards, and I was recently awarded 2015 CEO of the Year Illinois for innovation and contribution to the venture capital and private equity industry. We also got awarded the Wealth and Finance International Magazine's Best Crowdfunded Technology Venture Capital Fund for Alternative Investment Awards 2016. What is crowdfunding? Crowdfunding is the practice of funding a project by raising contributions from a large number of people, typically via the internet. The crowdfunding industry has grown from 16 billion in 2014 to 34 billion in 2015, and according to the World Bank estimates, crowdfunding will have a global market of 96 billion by 2025, which is 1.8 times today's global venture capital industry. Crowdfunding models include reward, donation, equity, debt, lending. However, there are primarily two types of crowdfunding, reward and equity. For reward-based crowdfunding, entrepreneurs pre-sell a product or service to launch a business, and sometimes in return for gifts or thank you notes. For equity crowdfunding, the backer receives a share of a company, usually in exchange of the money pledged. In case of NIN.VC, it will be limited partner interest in the NIN Ventures Technology QP Fund. Equity crowdfunding annually is expected to be 36 billion by 2020. Recently, the SEC approved Title III Jobs Act equity crowdfunding for non-accredited investors, which allows any U.S. citizen, regardless of income, to make direct investments via a crowdfunding portal. However, investment in fund like ours, or NIN.VC, is still limited to accredited investors. Let's find out which equity crowdfunding option is best for you based on our SWOT analysis. The traditional sources of funding for a venture fund would generally be pension funds, endowment funds, institutions, but crowdfunding allows individuals direct access and return in the venture capital asset class, either in the form of equity in a company or via a crowdfunding portal or a fund like ours. However, NIN.VC is a unique blend of the existing venture capital model and the crowdfunding portal with access to good quality deal flow, diversification, professional fund management, and a board representation, which allows us to work closely with selected good quality entrepreneurs. Most investors three-dimensional portfolio. for example, stocks, money market. But if you look at Harvard and Yale's portfolio, they have a four-dimensional portfolio, which is taking a long-term approach and investing in alternatives like venture capital. This long-term approach and investments in alternatives helps achieve true diversification and also mitigate the risk involved in having only a stock and bond portfolio. Now the question is, why venture capital when you can invest in other asset classes? Historically, if you look at U.S. Venture Capital Index and S&P 500, you will notice U.S. Venture Capital Index tends to outperform S&P 500, and not only that, they have an inverse relationship. This is generally applicable to other alternative investments as well. So why early stage technology venture capital? If you notice from 2002 to 2012, technology investments have dominated the venture capital industry. Highest currently, if you notice from 2004 to 2006, sector outperformed generalist funds. The technology sector has outperformed the U.S. venture capital index. Early and stage companies yield returns. Now a little bit about the fund. This NIN Ventures Technology Fund. We are a next generation technology venture capital fund that invests in Series A and B rounds of disruptive technology companies. We write checks anywhere from 1 to 5 million based on the industry, sector, and stage. Our strategy is to invest in early to growth stage disruptive technology companies. At NIN.VC, we start with an entrepreneur. We invest in an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs build companies and not the other way around. So who are these entrepreneurs? The $1 Billion Startup Club, as tracked by the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones Venture Source, shows that innovation and risk-taking breeds young tycoons with entrepreneurial spirit. If you look at the average age of all the entrepreneurs here, it's almost 28 years. Where do these entrepreneurs come from? Innovation does not bar anything. However, about 1/3 of U.S. startups that raised Series A round funding in 2012 went through an accelerator. Accelerators play a valuable role in the venture capital ecosystem by vetting and training young startup founders. In return, they create more quality companies. Thus, we choose to open another office at the Hero City at Draper University in the Silicon Valley, which puts us in the proximity of such entrepreneurs. So what are some of the technologies we invest in? Disruptive technology is an innovation that changes an existing industry and also helps create a new value network, displacing an earlier technology or a way of doing business. Our focus for 2016 is primarily on virtual reality, cloud computing, financial services technology, education software, mobile communication, fourth industrial revolution, among other path-breaking sectors within the United States. Our goal is to invest in the next big trend within sectors. So what does NIN.VC look for in a company? Disruptive technology requires an entrepreneur to take off against the wind, which is difficult. Potential for disaster is evident, and the end is unknown. However, as long as the company has certain attributes like a good management team, disruptive technology, a viable product, a revenue-generating strategy that form a basic foundation that leads to a long-term success. Being an entrepreneur is the hardest job in the world, and entrepreneurs face varied challenges when it comes to this environment. However, there is help. NIN.VC and VCs in general not only provide adequate financing, but also lend their domain expertise and network of partners to help companies with recruitment, PR and marketing, and also create a viable exit strategy, which is what sets us apart from other crowdfunding portals and funds. So how can you be a part of this new age funding? Like I mentioned, recently SEC approved Title III Jobs Act equity crowdfunding for non-accredited investors, which allows any U.S. citizen, regardless of income, to make direct investment via a crowdfunding portal. However, investment in fund like ours is still limited to accredited investors. Our goal is to truly democratize venture capital. However, currently, one must be an accredited investor and verify themselves as an accredited investor before they can make an investment in the NIN Ventures Technology QP Fund. An accredited investor is an individual with an income of more than $200,000 per year or a joint income of $300,000 in each of the last 2 years, or has a net worth exceeding $1 million either individually or jointly with his or her, excluding the primary residence. For an entity, any trust in total in excess of 5 million qualifies. There is to verify if you're an accredited investor. For an individual, it's income, asset, and third-party verification. For entity, it's asset and third-party verification. What is the at NIN.VC comes in the NIN Ventures Technology QP Fund using checking their savings account, defined benefit plan, self-directed IRA, and even digital currencies. A defined benefit plan is a retirement plan that can invest in a wide range of securities and investment products in venture funds. Some of the advantages of investing from a defined benefit plans are all contributions made to the plan and subsequently invested are top-line tax deductible to the business, whether the business structure is a sole proprietorship, an LLC, an LLP, PC, a C Corp, or an S Corp. The investment growth is tax deferred under the umbrella of the defined benefit plan. The contribution might be significantly greater than that of the 401k profit sharing plan to help increase the retirement savings account for the business owner. To invest in NIN Ventures using your defined benefit plan, you must first sign up on NIN.VC, verify you are an accredited investor. The next step is to establish a plan with Robin Weingart and Associates or a service provider of your choice. Once the plan is established and the contribution is calculated, with most important step, you can complete the subscription process on NIN.VC again. We also let investors invest in our fund using their retirement plan, for example, self-directed IRA. Self-directed is a descriptive term that is used to describe how some IRA providers administer the assets they hold. With the self-directed IRA, the client controls their IRA, what their IRA invests in. Self-directed IRA allows investors to hold alternative assets within their tax-deferred retirement plans, such as private placements in venture capital like ours. Like any IRA investment, a self-directed IRA has built-in tax-deferred growth, and thus an individual will not pay capital gain tax on the growth of the investment. The return will flow back to the self-directed IRA and will not be taxable to the account holder. A self-directed IRA allows for true diversification that is otherwise not achievable in a standard IRA portfolio. To invest in NIN Ventures using a self-directed IRA, you must first sign up on NIN.VC, verify you are an accredited investor. The next step is to establish an IRA account with the interest group or a service provider of your choice. Once the plan is established, you can complete the subscription process on NIN.VC. Digital currencies, for example, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, are emerging as a new form of alternative payment and global currency. We at NIN Ventures understand the significance of this change and thus have teamed up with Snapcard to let Bitcoin owners tap into venture capital. We allowed digital currency owners to attain liquidity via Snapcard in return for an investment in the NIN Ventures Technology QP Fund. Now let's go through the investment process step by step in detail. Visit NIN.VC to sign up. Sign up is simple and free. First name, last name, email, password, and acknowledge that you are an accredited investor. Once you sign up, you get access to our marketing materials, that is, our PPM and other suggested reading. I highly recommend you do that right after this call to learn more about this offering. You get invited to attend our events and calls like this one. You can also schedule a one-on-one meeting with us at our office or online via Skype. If you are a first-time venture capital investor, I highly recommend you schedule a one-on-one meeting. Once you decide to make an investment, accept the risk and disclosure statement that will explain what venture capital investment is. The next step is to verify accreditation. Once that is in order, it's only a matter of filling out subscription documents and a W-9 form on NIN.VC. The last step is payment, and it's as simple as selecting the payment method and the amount you wish to invest. Please note that venture capital is a high-risk, high-reward investment vehicle, and we strongly recommend reviewing our other suggested reading on our website before making any investment decisions. On that note, we're open to questions. Please type your questions in the chat box, and we'll make sure we answer them all. So the very first question, what is the minimum and maximum amount one can invest? The minimum amount of investment required is $100,000, and the maximum amount an individual or entity can invest is 20% the size of our fund, which will be $5 million in our case. How long is the investment period? The life of the fund is 10 years, with 2 years of possible extension. I would like to add that liquidity happens when the fund makes an exit in the investments, and redemptions and transfer of ownership are not permitted during this time. Is the fund only open to U.S. residents? Yes. Given the fact that Jobs Act is a little wishy-washy when it comes to international investing, our fund is only available to U.S. investors. However, international investors can invest in the fund by establishing a U.S.-based entity. You might want to check with your tax, your accountant or your tax company in terms of the implications of that. Having said that, we also reserve the right to refuse any individual or entity if we believe has a special agenda or interest of investing in our fund. As a fund manager, our goal is to act in the fund's best interest. What is the best method for accreditation verification? Third-party verification is the most popular accreditation verification method on our end and also on our investors, which means a letter from your lawyer, accountant, financial advisor stating that you are an accredited investor. I would like to add that if you are an entity, whether it's US-based or non-US-based, every investor in that entity must be verified as an accredited investor. Any other questions? Has NIN.VC made any portfolio investments yet? When do you expect to make investments? We'll probably start making investments by end of this year, but we have a few companies that we have identified in terms of investments for 2016. And to be fair, we have 5 years after we close the fund to make those investments. Any other questions? Once again, thank you all for being on the call. Sign up on NIN.VC to begin your investment process, or you can reach us at contact@nin.vc or 312-953-0930 to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me or request any other materials. Have a wonderful day and happy investing.